Recently, I dropped a video ranting about how most black characters in the MCU currently seem to not have any care put into their characters or projects. And that was based off of bad projects that they were leads in, their personalities being boring and flat, or their solo projects just being buried and ignored. There were people in the comments pushing back on what I said. Some of them I could actually have a discussion with, and one who wanted to act like I was blaming white people for this. Even though I had never said anything like that, I was blaming Marvel as a whole for it, and anyone who had worked on any of these projects. That video wasn't me calling the MCU racist. That was me noticing a pattern and a bigger problem. The pattern being that the majority of the black characters in the universe were a part of a bigger list of a bunch of characters the MCU is currently disrespecting. So yes, I still do think that the MCU does not care about its black characters. It wasn't a grift, it wasn't bait. I genuinely think that. And because I'm a black man, I wanted to rant about my frustrations with it. But since some folks want to act like I'm just using race to grift, or I'm baiting, or I'm just straight up being disingenuous, let's also talk about the other MCU characters that have also been neglected, rejected, or disrespected. Ever since Avengers Endgame, I've looked at Thor differently. Thor's build-up and climax in Avengers Infinity War left him as arguably the most powerful hero in the universe. So I was excited to see how much more powerful he would be in Endgame and in the future, but it really feels like he's leveled out. First, they fatten him up so that the final battle in Endgame isn't too easy for the Avengers, and then in Love and Thunder, he just feels less powerful overall. Like in that movie, he is significantly less powerful than himself in Infinity War. I think building him up to that level just to cut him back down is just wrong. Because to me, it makes me feel like that was his peak in the universe and that he's not going to do anything more than that in the future. So I'm worried that he's going to fade into the background of Avengers Doomsday and maybe even be used as a power scaler for Doctor Doom like they did the Hulk in Infinity War. If that happens, I'm going to be mad. You can't talk about disrespected characters without bringing up the Hulk. And it's not even completely Marvel's fault. Universal doesn't want to make a Hulk movie, so he's kept to being a side character in others' projects. Despite this, he was still a cool character. Until Infinity War. So he gets punked by Thanos and then just decides, I'm done. And a conflict between Bruce Banner and the Hulk could have worked really well if it wasn't glossed over in Endgame. I get that there couldn't be time to go through a whole Hulk and Banner arc, but then don't throw away the Hulk in exchange for Professor Hulk when you clearly had no plans for Professor Hulk. On top of this, the permanent injury that the Professor Hulk got from snapping was just fixed by technology. So just more bullshit added on to his character. Last thing I want to mention about the Hulk. He was not announced in the cast for Avengers Doomsday. So that's crazy. Wanda could have been so much more in the MCU. Her slow descent into madness was pretty compelling, but we definitely needed at least one more project, one more thing showing her being tempted by the Darkhold and then fully giving into it before we had the full villain turn. Because what happened was the writers for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness decided they wanted to use Wanda as their villain, even though doing so felt kind of out of nowhere. I remember being in the theater when I was first watching it, and even though I'd seen WandaVision, the immediate 100% villain turn was crazy and forced to me. So I can only imagine how the movie felt to those who didn't watch WandaVision. It's like we just skipped a part of her story without detailing her descent into madness just a little bit more. The villain turn wasn't really compelling. And what really can you do with Wanda at this point? She really is just another fumble by Marvel. Speaking of Doctor Strange 2, bro gets sidelined during his own movie. I get Wanda was pretty popular at the time, but his name was in the title, and yet he looked like a shell of himself from Infinity War and Endgame. I was expecting some crazy sorcery/magic fights between him and Wanda, two very powerful individuals, but most of the time, he was just running away from her. That was so annoying to me, and I don't even like Doctor Strange. I don't care for his character like at all, but he deserved better. Plus, he won't be in Avengers Doomsday allegedly, and Doctor Strange 3 doesn't have a release date. It really feels like after Multiverse of Madness, they were like, all right, I'm done with you. Bye-bye. Vision was seen in some alleged concept art chilling with Peter Quill of all people, and the Wonder Man series is coming out this year, so maybe he'll be acknowledged soon, but that doesn't really do justice to a character we haven't seen in 4 years. Like, I wish Marvel was just a lot more upfront with Vision and where he's been, because we've been waiting for Vision Quest for so long. Terry Matalas, if that's how you say that name, who I believe will be directing the show, did just recently confirm a new actor for the show who will be voicing Friday. But I wish we knew more about the show, because right now the show is in the same lane as Blade and Armor Wars. Do I even really need to explain this one? After an awesome solo movie, I was left craving more from the martial arts master. And the post-credit scene hinted at some cool shit on the way, but then we just never heard from him again. And I get that he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and that's awesome because I love ShangChi so much. But the fact that the next time we see him, it will have been 5 years is crazy. And it's not like people weren't wanting to see him again. And with all the other shit that they were putting out, they could have made him a sequel. ShangChi was one of the coolest characters that Marvel had put out in a while, so for them to just push him to the side was wild to me. Moonlight was a solid and entertaining show with a lackluster ending, just like a lot of their Disney shows. But the thing is, I think the fact that the show was so entertaining means that they could have taken the foundation of what was good from the first season and made an even better second season. Or better yet, make the fucking Midnight Suns movie that they were clearly teasing at before. This is gonna be a double whammy now. You guys remember Werewolf by Night? You know, the fresh and unique special presentation that they put out a few years ago? What happened with that? Are we just supposed to forget about that now? I think a Midnight Suns movie with these characters not only could have introduced a new side of the MCU, but it also would have been refreshing. Think about it. The trailer for the Midnight Suns game got 13 million views. And I think it was because most people thought at first that it was going to be a movie trailer. At least I did. But I think the dreams of this movie died with the failure to make a Blade movie, which I talked about in my other video. This one is like beating on a dead horse. But how dare you give every other original Avenger a solo movie, but limit Hawkeye to a TV show? Call me corny, but Hawkeye rivaled Captain America for my favorite, because he was so human, fighting alongside gods. That was cool to me. So for him to only get a TV show, which I admit was pretty good, but that's just so disrespectful to a founding member of the Avengers. And I think the fact that Marvel didn't want to pay Jeremy Renner the same salary for the second season just backs up the fact that they don't respect that character and they don't care about him at all. Oh boy, this one I do not like at all. So Bucky is a character I've felt for since Winter Soldier. And just like with all other characters from the Captain America movies, they don't know what to do with him now. First, his portion of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is rushed and overlooked, even though it was just as compelling as Sam Wilson's. Then he gets 3 minutes in Captain America 4. Like, that makes no sense to me. And honestly, I think his role as a mentor to people who fucked up in life in the Thunderbolts is good for him. But the fact that they just force him to go out of character at the end of that movie and become part of the new Avengers, basically letting Val get away with her crimes, is terrible. Bucky wouldn't go along with this. He just wouldn't. He doubled down on making sure she gets locked up for her crimes, not joining some Avenger squad that he really wouldn't care about in the slightest. And on top of that, his decision to join the team has hurt his relationship with Sam, reversing the effects that the TV show had on their relationship. No one wants to think when writing Bucky, and that's messed up, because I like Bucky. The way they have treated Bucky post-Endgame is wrong, and there's no excuse for it. There was a comment on my last video saying that nobody cares about my opinion, and that I should stop complaining. But while these videos really are just me ranting, I want them to highlight another point as well. The passion for some of these characters is fading. A lot of these characters are being ignored, pushed to the side, or they felt they needed to put them in some project, but don't really care that much about them. Or the progression of the character has become stagnant, with there being no clue what's coming next for them. And that's unfair when I know for a fact that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of creative and passionate individuals out there that would kill to be in the positions of some of these directors and writers. And they know for a fact that they can make something better or something that sheds more light on these characters. And this is why I highlighted Eric July in my last video, because he didn't like what he was seeing in the comic book industry and said, I'm going to make my own comics. And I've read some of his comics. They're solid. I just wish that more actually faithful people got their chance with some of these characters, because I know we would get better content. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and as always, thanks for watching.